That's a great thing. And I think that's going to tie that in here, how comedy became, outlet for you or some sort of therapy to one regard or the other, because that's something that a lot of us find ourselves reaching for something to hold on to when life has really just kicked us in the throat. So let's get into your story, man. Like, from what I understand, you were 8 years old and your life just changed. So let's go if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, so I grew up regular household. Well, in the 90s, I guess, regular.
Right.
My mom, my dad was a drug dealer. And my mom, just a regular stay-at-home mom. But I saw a lot of domestic violence growing up.
Wow. Okay.
So even before the actual incident, I would see it in the house. Me and my brother would try to stop. I have a brother that's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
So it was me and him always in the house. So that's like the beginning stages of it. So when I was 8 years old, it was actually December 31st, 98, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. My mom was on her way to church, and looking back in hindsight, it's like things happened for a reason. And she never really goes to church, but she was going to church with my aunt.
Wow.
That night.
So it was New Year's Eve and she was going to church.
Yeah, and it was like, that's the first time I can recall her like up and going to church, and that's what she was doing. So it was a packed house that night at my crib. Usually it's just me and my brother, but my two cousins were also staying with us at the time. So it was me, my brother, my two cousins. My mom had her friend over, and they were going to go meet my aunt at church. I'm guessing, well, at the time I didn't know, but my mom and dad had got into an argument earlier that day about taking my brother to the skating rink. Excuse me. And so when he rushed home, they had an argument, him rushing home, drunk off alcohol, and, the incident transpired. She's fresh out the shower, and my room is like, it's the bathroom. So it's when you walk up the stairs to the right, there's the, the laundry room. And then right next to the laundry room is my room that's actually facing the hallway. So I'm literally watching my dad walk up the stairs. The door's wide open to the bathroom. And then, I just see him firing shots off. So it wasn't really like a much like exchange back and forth. After that, he ran down the stairs and I went to go see what happened in the bathroom. At that point, I saw my mom shot and land on the floor. So that's pretty much the incident right there. Afterwards, we ended up going next door to the neighbor's house. They're calling the cops and things like that. And, just being young, I don't know everything what was like really going on, even though I was a smart child, but everything just was happening so fast, couldn't really comprehend everything. But as I got older and, hearing stories or just reading the newspaper and stuff like that, I'm able to get all sides of what actually happened that night, but also everything leading up to it. So
that's a very traumatic experience, and I always thank our guests for sharing, because you don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And I know that could be difficult, because every time you tell the story, you're reliving that. You were so vivid in your description that I was there with you. Like, I'm watching it happen, come up the steps. And I never knew that you actually saw it happen, like the shots firing, and hearing that in that experience. Do you remember anything that you were thinking when you saw your mom there, or were you too young, or you just can't recall right now?
I really can't recall exactly how I felt. But it was like, it's almost like everything kind of slowed down at once. I just remember, crying, of course, my brother crying, everybody just crying, but not really like my emotions. Everything wasn't moving fast. It was just like slowed down, and I was able to see and look, and, some of those visions will last forever, unfortunately. But that's the best way I can describe like my emotions during that moment.
No, you did a great job describing that. And what you said, too, is that some of them will, unfortunately, last forever, because you were able to paint that picture to us again. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't mind me asking, at that time, did you know that your mom was deceased, or you just in your mind saw that she had been shot?
I think a part of me felt like she was, and then the hopeful person, uh, tried to make sense of what happened and is like, just praying for the best. But it wasn't any movement on site, like, and I vividly remember that. And from what they said, she lasted to like around midnight or whatever before she passed away. But I know what I saw at that moment, and like I said, the part that was like real was like, no, she wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation to be in for sure. So you're 8 years old, is that correct? 'Cause I got that from the newspaper
Yeah.
article. You're 8, so your brother's probably about 13 at the
Yep.
time. When you went next door, like, do you recall how your life started to move after that? Like, I'm just curious. So, okay, your dad ran out and left. What was there, like a police chase? Do you know anything about like how
Yeah,
he was
so
apprehended?
there, when we end up going next door, everybody's worried, the neighborhood's worried. We lived in a white neighborhood, Pine Hill, New Jersey. So I think we might have been the only black people actually on our block. So it's no crime going on out there.
Right, right.
So to have something, like that, gunshots, is kind of crazy. So I remember, hearing them talking and stuff like that, and everybody that's there, my aunts are rushing over and all that stuff. They're trying to like make me go to sleep, as if like, I get it, but it's like I said, I'm not a regular 8-year-old at that point. Excuse me. Like I'm not. I know what's going on, and I want to know what's going on. So we're in the bedroom hearing everybody talk. I remember the moment where they said that they actually apprehended him, and like it was like a sigh of like relief, but it was also like, well, like what's next? Like what's now? Like where do we go from here? So even that night, it was a lot of change. Having to stay with my aunt and realizing I don't have a home to go to. Realizing that my cousins that stayed with us probably might not stay with us. And for some reason, I had a feeling that now I have 2 separate families and not one.
Wow, that's deep. That's a lot to comprehend at 8 years old. And obviously, like you said, you weren't the average 8-year-old because you remember so many of those details and just like starting to put it all together. And do you feel like anyone explained that to you? Because you said that you started putting it together yourself and just kind of thinking like that. I'm always curious when it comes to our traumatic experiences, especially in the African American community, how we deal with that as far as communicating to people what is actually going on and how we're going to move forward from here.
Well, so like my family, they tried to hide a lot of stuff from me, just because I am 8 years old. Not trying to give me that benefit of doubt of like, okay, like he needs to know this to like push forward. But I'm also like at that point, I don't show my emotions or feelings. So it was like, no matter, even if they would have told me, I might not have gave an emotion that they were expecting or wanted at that point. But they also did hide a lot of things, or at least tried to. So a lot of the understanding just came from observing. And like I said, so it was growing up, seeing certain things and already understanding. And maybe that came from also being a younger brother. So, you always run around and trying to be like your older sibling. So you start picking up things a little bit faster than maybe other kids your age. So I was able to understand a lot, like I said, just early on from that standpoint without having so much of like a conversation of, hey, this is what happened. This is why it happened. It was more so like, all right, I think I got a good grasp of what happened, and I'll just deal with it however I'm going to deal with it.
No, and that's you're echoing a story for a lot of us, for a lot of people who, of course, when you have someone that young, you want to shelter them from it. But when we realize in hindsight, like, was that actually the best thing for that person? Maybe we won't exactly know, but did you go to your mom's funeral? Did they have a funeral for your mom? Like, do you recall that part of it?
Yeah, she actually, it was like a huge funeral. Like, that's something that was like, like, I remember it being hundreds and hundreds of people.
Wow.
That's something that they did not let me in to like see it. And a part of me wanted to, but also a part of me didn't want to, because at that age, I started to also understand that the body is just a body. Like, she's not there anyway. And up to that point, I've already experienced a lot of death, whether it be cousins. My grandmom died 6 months beforehand.
Okay, wow.
From a heart attack. So it's like between 5, 6, 7, 8, I didn't seen a lot, been to a lot of funerals. So at that point, it was like, yeah, I don't need to go in, but would I like to see my mom? Maybe, but I already know, she's not there. That's not.
So you didn't. So you didn't see her body in a casket.
Yeah, just not at the funeral. So
okay, so like maybe like the viewing or something.
Yeah. And that's something I didn't enjoy at all. More so because, like I said, it's not her. It didn't look like her.
No, thank you for sharing that. You're definitely becoming very transparent there. Mm-hmm. Was that the last time you saw your dad?
No. So my relationship with him obviously became difficult because I didn't know how to feel, because on one side of the coin, that's your dad. And you remember all of the things he's done for you. You remember all the things he's done for people, how he's treated you up to that point. And then on the other side, it's a monster. It's something that's like unbelievable that you can only like see on TV. So I really didn't want to talk to him or see him, but I have a whole other side of my family that I was extremely close with,
Your dad's side.
Yeah. That, they always at least wanted me to talk to him and things like that. And, maybe to go see him. But at 8 years old, that's something that I wasn't ready for mentally or emotionally, to put myself out there in a position of not knowing, just exactly how to feel. So I did not see him in person until I was 18.
Oh, wow. So from that day, seeing him firing shots at your mom, you didn't see him again until you were 18.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never even thought about it like that. Like, never. Like, I never thought about it like that. But yeah. So that was like a more of a conscious decision. At like teenager, you think you coming into
right. Get
so
your man,
like,
your little hair on your chest, feeling
I gotta go do this. I'm gonna make it happen, and I'm gonna like feel better. And like I said, like my grandmom, his mom, who was like I was extremely close with. She just passed recently this year. Jeez. So yeah, she always wanted me to go see him or talk to him. Because at the end of the day, that's still her son. And at the end of the day, that's still my dad. And we both know he did wrong, but how can we overcome this to, make things better? So I actually did go see him, and that was a terrible experience, not seeing him, but the whole entire thing. As far as like seeing prison, what it looks like.
That's a rough experience.
And then actually realizing that it's other people in here in similar situations. It's other people in here that's doing life. And I had a lot of questions for him. And we went as a group. And I felt like I couldn't ask those questions in front of everybody. So the questions that I needed to get answered, I didn't even put out there to see everybody else kind of happy. And to me, to, I guess, dampen the mood by, I don't know what I would have did in that moment. I have no clue what he would have did in that moment. But everybody else, was just happy. So I suppressed what I actually wanted to do in order for, everybody else to have a good time.
Wow, that stinks. That sucks that you weren't able to actually like have the experience that you thought. And, so did you ever get a chance to talk to him beyond that? Or you only went that one time when you were 18?
So I've only been once. Last time I see him, I was 18.
Oh, wow.
But I've talked to him. I got a chance to ask that question when I was about 22. I reached out to him. I was actually going through like a lot of stuff in my life at the time, and everything just kind of settled down in that moment. And that was the first time that I didn't have an outlet to, hide my feelings. It wasn't basketball around. It wasn't a girl. It wasn't working. I had a chance to sit and deal with everything. And it was like depressing. It was really depressing. I'm already a skinny dude, right? So at the time, I went from about 145 to about 119.
Wow.
And it's like, I look back at pictures, it's like, dude, I was sick, like completely sick.
Yeah.
But that was during that time of just like, stressing and everything. And I took that time to ask those questions because I had to deal with everything. Everything is hitting me at once. So, I reached out to my grandma, got his information, and I probably wrote like a 5 or 6 page letter. And I just remember crying.
While you were writing it?
Yeah, just crying and sending it off. And I'm pretty sure it's like tears on the paper.
Wow.
And, just crying. And after I wrote it, it was like, wow, that felt okay. I still want to hear this answer, but
yeah.
but that felt okay. And, I really didn't. I always cared how he would respond. That was the first time I didn't care. I didn't care. This is like, I need this right now. I need to know what's happening. I need to know what happened. And, he actually wrote me back about a 10-page letter. And it was as much truth as he could tell. I'm not saying he's a liar at all. I'm just saying I know it's hard to give everything at once.
Right.
Especially in a situation where at this point, you don't even know me. You remember me at 8 years old. So and I know certain things that transpired that led up to that. Like people think kids not smart.
Right.
It was like, nah, I can piece some stuff together. But he did tell the truth. And I remember reading it and just not wanting to write him back. Not because I was mad or sad. It was more so, it was like, it's done. Like, that's a chapter in my life. Like, I got the answer that I wanted. Like, I've been waiting this whole time for. And it was like a surreal moment. Like, I felt like a weight has been like lifted off my shoulders. And we was back in contact probably for a couple months on and off, just through letters. And then, that stopped. I really didn't care to, have a relationship with him at all because I got what I wanted. Not until probably the last about year, probably a little over a year, we've started having more dialogue and, talking on the phone and writing.
Like this year, currently?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think that's helped me out so much just personally and a lot of stuff that I'm going through and I'm going to, go through in the future. And that kind of happened, like I said, maybe talking at my grandma's house when she still was alive and, on the phone. And what they always like try to like teach me early when that happened was you don't want to lose twice. You lost one parent. We can't do anything about that, even though it was at the hands of your second parent.
Yeah, for real.
But you only get one mom, you only get one dad. Unfortunately, this was the cards you were dealt with. Now, it's up to you to, salvage whatever is left and make the best of the situation. And, I never really understood it early why my grandma would want me to talk to him and talk to him and talk to him. She'll bring up stories and stories and stories. And it was like, damn, like, why you, like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come over here for this. I came over here to kick it with you. Why are you doing this? Like, stop trying to do that. But it was also a layer of making him human to me as well. And, even on my mom's side of the family, they know what he did was wrong, but that's not the total package of him. All of us got things with us, but,
True.
His may be completely extreme, but he's done stuff for people that you can't forget about. At the end of the day, he was a good person to my family members, to my godmom, to my grandma. Like, he's still, he took in my brother. Me and my brother have different dads.
Oh, okay.
So, he took in my brother from 3 years old, and he was the driving force. My brother's dad really wasn't around like that. So his dad was my dad. And to go back, bringing my brother. So the thing that made me like really reach out to my dad was I had a conversation with my brother, and my brother after it happened, he had to move to Arizona with his dad because that's his biological father. So he moved in with his dad, and you know, our relationship kind of been, it's always good because that's my brother, and we always, excuse me, you know, we have that bond no matter what. But the talking and the seeing each other is, you know, the distance in between is rough. But he ended up saying something like, you know, I talked to your dad. And I'm like, wow, like that's like, by what?
Right.
He's like, you know, like, I just been in communication with him and I really think you should too. And I had to take a second and really think about it. And I was like, so if you can forgive my dad, then what would make me not, you know, at least try? And that's your mom too. So I was like, wow. And, you know, the way my brother is and the way I am, we completely different. He's a little bit more irresponsible than me in the sense where, you know, he's 5 years older, but I'm probably the more responsible one. So to, you know, have my brother say something like that is like, wow, okay. I'm at least hear him out and try it. And like I said, mixed with the conversations that, you know, I had growing up. I decided to see what was going on, and we've been in contact ever since. And I think it's really, I actually talked to him about 2 or 3 days ago. Now, who knows what's going to happen when he gets out? But like I said, it's more so just not trying to lose twice at the end of the day, and seeing what can work for me, and also realize that he's in a worse position than I am. Like, prison is living hell. He has to live with the consequences of his actions, of not knowing his son, and, you know, not being on the outside, not being there, you know, as your mom is sick and ends up passing. That's something I'm not, you know, I'm not dealing with that.
Right.
I can be okay. You know, I'm not in hell, even if, you know, hell happened for a moment. I'm gonna be okay. So I actually felt bad for his situation, and he needs someone to talk to. I'm pretty sure, you know, it brightens up his life, the fact that he can even call his son and, you know, hear his voice after what he's done. So I know he's sorry. And like I said, he told his truth. And if I'm going to forgive somebody, I have to forgive you. There is no thing where I can halfway forgive you, or is I have to own it, and we're going to move forward from here and just see what happens. That's all.
Yeah, you said a lot, man. I mean, I'm just taking it all in here, and I think you answered my biggest question was, did you actually forgive him? And it seems like you said that you did. I'm blown away because I had no idea that you were in contact with him currently, and I think that you said so much today that I don't have to say much today. I think my audience have to take so much from that. Like, you're preaching to me in areas in my life where, you know, when it comes to forgiveness, we're talking about not being able to forgive people for some of the smallest things. But you were able, as a Black man, let me just say that you were able to initiate and have a conversation, relationship with the person. I know, understand it's your father, but still the person that took your mom from here, and actually extend forgiveness. And by you doing that, it not only helped him, but you said that it helped you and helped yourself, you know, be able to heal. And at this point in your life, as a man, what it seems like to me is that you kind of needed, or maybe wanted, your father, regardless of what actually transpired. Like you said, that is your dad, and not wanting to lose twice. We talked about that last week, where our guest grieved her dad twice because she didn't have a relationship with him. Then they got close, and then he died. Right. So it was like all that time she didn't have him, and then now she had him. So your story has changed me for sure today, and just all of those things. I know one thing I do want to ask you, and I'm sure you'll have a good answer to that, is if you had to choose a color for your grief, because I've been asking this question, I've been very intrigued by the answers. And I mean, it could be from when you were 8 years old and growing up and having that grief journey experience, or it could be present day as a man that's approaching 30. I'm just really curious. Maybe you can say, if you had to pick a color when you were 8 and 9 and 10 versus now, you know, being a grown man, like, I would definitely love to hear your answer with that.
I'll say it's gray. I think gray describes it in a point where that's something that you can get used to. on a cloudy day, I'm pretty sure people in Seattle, Washington is like, yeah, it's just a normal day. They only notice the sun when the sun is actually out.
Wow.
Other than that, it is what it is. And I'm guessing that's from me, internalizing everything and just moving as I do. I actually had this conversation recently where, I grew up, I probably was depressed for so long that like I didn't even notice.
Wow.
We just say, oh, yeah, it's just my life. It is what it is. And you just keep pushing, you move forward until, one day you was like, oh shit, I didn't know I could even feel like this. And I think that's where I'm at now. And that's where I've been at, last couple of years where I didn't know I could feel this good. And that's what made me look back and reflect on it was like, hey, I probably, was depressed all of this time. I just found a way to deal with it in the ways that I wanted to deal with it. So yeah, the best way I can describe it is Gray.
No, I think that's definitely a great answer and very enlightening in that way that you didn't even know like until you weren't. So it's like you don't know till you know when they say that, like you had no idea that you were depressed and just walking around like that until you weren't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a story for a lot of us, for sure in that regard. So couple things. Mm-hmm. I do want to bounce into our In Love and Memory segment though, because that's a part of our show that's very important to us, is to show love and light to people who have gone on, our loved ones. It's important to humanize them. Like you said, you humanize your father, and we want to humanize our loved ones that have gone on. So with you being here today, our In Love and Memory segment from the Grieve Bully podcast, we want to extend our condolences to yourself and your family.
Thank you.
Our In Love and Memory segment today goes out to Lisa Choice. That was Garnett Briscoe's mother. So I'm sure that she's extremely proud of the man that you've become, everything that you're doing for yourself and for everybody else out here that you shared with today. So we want to send our love out to your mom. Continue to fly high. And I'm sure that you're very proud of your young man here, both of them. I don't know your brother, but, he's doing a lot of good things as well, being able to communicate with your father and such. And so that's an amazing part there. Our inspirational boost is a part of our show that we like to give a quote or something thought-provoking, before we head out. Our shows are on Mondays. So today's Monday, October the 28th. Our inspirational boost is brought to us by Adina J Designs. They make, create, and inspire us with decorated apparel, wood signs, custom tumblers, and more. Follow them on Instagram at Adina J Designs, ADENAJAYDESIGNS. Our quote today is, "We fall, we break, we fail, but then we rise, we heal, we overcome." And that quote is unknown. And I think that was just an echo of today's episode, man. I think you fell, you were broken, you failed again, but then you rose and you healed and you overcome, and you're continuing to overcome. So before we get out of here today, if you just will leave the audience with two things, man, I don't even know what else you could really leave us with, because your story itself just embodies the epitome of resilience. And it really is resonating with me. So I'm certainly sure to my audience out there, guys, you got to take a lot from this story. I encourage you to listen to this episode actually more than once and just go back. There's so much there. But if you had to leave us with, one or two things just to encourage, inspire, or just some realness for them, I would appreciate that.
I'll say honestly, one would have to be just is everything is bigger than what you think it is. I've been able to not hate a lot of people or not feel any kind of way about people or in negative situations because I have something drastic to compare it to. So it's like I said, if a girl cheats on me, that's minor. That's not the end of the world. I feel like I know what the end of the world feel like. So I'm able to move on. So it's a lot of people, that go through everyday life, whether it be work, whether it be, your car just got hit and, you cursing somebody out about it. You just got to get a chance to really look at it. And it's like, well, how big is this? Like, do you have your life? Do you still have means to do what you got to do? Is your family still around? We all have our bad days, but when you have something to compare it to, and none of us are perfect, we all have, a story to tell. So everyone has something to compare it to. It's not that big. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's actually probably going to be part of the title for this show, because I truly agree with you on that. Before we get out of here too, we didn't get a chance to, I'm bothered, I guess, to an extent that we didn't get a chance to really talk about your comedy. And I know that's been a big part of your therapy. So I want you to let people know where they can follow you on social media, because they can continue to follow your journey, your story, your comedy, whatever upcoming events you have. I definitely would love for you to take the opportunity to plug that, where we can follow you on social media, as well as, anything you have. And how comedy, maybe real quick, how comedy has helped you.
It's funny because it's always helped me. That's my defense. That was my defense mechanism. So even growing up before, things, transpire with my parents, my brother used to crack on me all the time. He used to make me cry. And then I used to have to get funny and tell jokes on him and embarrass him in front of, his friends and my cousins and stuff like that. So it's always been there. Once that happened, I still had to go back to school. So I had to face my friends with, them reading the newspaper and them knowing, and they have parents and, people coming up and asking questions, and I would just deflect. And I would deflect with a joke, to all right, let's change the subject. I still do that, now, where it's I don't want to talk too deep right now, so I'm going to just tell a joke until it's time to, all right, I feel like I want to have a conversation about it. But yeah, I feel like, that's helped me my entire life as far as that. I'm finally at the point where I'm able to open up, and I want to open up. That's why you see posts like you get on the internet, because it would be selfish of me to not share that with people. That's my responsibility. We all have a story to tell, and I have to say that out loud. I have to, try to inspire. I have to try to, motivate somebody to say, hey, listen, life is always going to throw you curveballs. It's always going to hurt you. Life is the greatest joke in the world.
Wow.
It's what are you going to do about it?
That is so true.
So it's you got to be able to laugh at life and roll with the punches. And also, I feel like I have a great responsibility as well between my friends and the people I don't know, where it's I just have to share that. I have to, because I don't know who that could help. And I got so many, people that follow me online that actually hit me up before I posted that and said, I appreciate just the energy that you bring every morning. You make me laugh, or yo, that quote was dope, or yo, he's just keep doing what you're doing. So it's always people that, need a good word. And what I've been saying recently, I don't know how or why it came up, but the world is always going to need three things. That's love, laughter, and music. No matter what. It's always been around. And it's always going to continue to be around. So that's it. No,
thank you for sharing that. And I agree with that quote. And I know you're a big Nipsey Hussle guy.
Yeah.
And you actually encouraged me to get more into him just from seeing your posts and so forth. Yeah. So where could everybody follow you on Instagram?
Sherlock Homeboy on Instagram. I'm pretty sure your audience can spell. Mine's couldn't when I had a podcast. had a dumb audience. Sherlock Homeboy is SherlockHomeboi.